Hey everyone, welcome to this Quick Start Basics call tonight, the class tonight, Sunday night on February 17th. Did y'all have a good Valentine's week? A lot happening this week for some of us. So we're glad that you are here. We're super excited for you to join us tonight. Tonight our goal is to equip and empower and entertain and educate you on the basics of building your business. Our goal of the school is to teach you how to build a strong and profitable business. Before we get started or do any intros, I invite you to grab a pen and paper so I can let you know what's coming up this week. On Wednesday, as you may know, every weekday lunchtime, noon Eastern time, is our MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, where Jeff and I teach one of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership by John Maxwell. And this Monday, tomorrow, is law number 13, the law of the picture. People do what people see. It takes a leader to raise up a leader. We teach these because leadership is the #1 paid skill, money-making skill in network marketing. This is a class where you can, a lunchtime show class where you can pop in, attend, you can refer people, you can send friends, you can invite your team. It's all free. So they can learn leadership. Also helps to become a better person, of course. An inside circle of that is our Wednesday night class within this school called the MLM Leadership University. And this is a select group of inner circle people where we take a book of John Maxwell's once a month. This month is this book, Put Your Dream to the Test. It has been incredible to make sure your dream is aligned with your values and it's realistic, and how to make sure that you reach your dreams. So we'd love to have you there. There are a few members here in that class. Jim Bailey's one, Becky Gustafson, Linda, and Doris. And if you would like information on that, just private message me and send you a link to that class too. So we'd love to have you, especially the new people that are popping on if you want some information about that class. But I'll be in touch with y'all about that. So Tuesdays is another show, another free class that Jeff and I do, Tuesdays 3 p.m. every week. One aspect of network marketing. And this coming Tuesday is about leads, how to talk to leads. This is something everybody has been wanting to know and asking questions about. Everyone seems interested. What do I do after I expend my warm market? How do I keep my business going and growing? So that is how to explode it with leads. And Jeff is an expert at that, having personally sponsored over 500 people frontline, spent 24 years in direct sales and network marketing. And I just love what he teaches and how he teaches that. So I'll be sort of interviewing him that day. Coming up May 3rd to 5th in Chicago is Leadership Weekend Summit, an event that Jeff and Brandy put on quarterly. I mean, they put on an event quarterly. This quarter is the leadership one, focusing heavily on John Maxwell. Be in Chicago. You can attend it in person or you can attend it online. So we will all be there in person, and anybody from states around has traveled into these and just loved them and always had a breakthrough. But this time you can actually watch it online for a very, very reasonable price. You can find that link in the MLM Millionaire Club group, Facebook group, and you can go in and get your tickets. Liz Dickerson was the first person in our group to get your tickets there. So it's going to cover the 4 personalities, the DISC personalities, so you can understand people's languages, and how to become a top recruiter and lead people, how to become a team builder, not just bring people in, and how to become an influencer of people, and how to consistently achieve. And by the way, those online tickets are only $20 at this point. Might go up, but at this point that's a very good price. So we invite you to do that. Now, if you have been in this class for a little while and you're attending it again and hearing it again, congratulations, you're doing the right thing. Randy Gage, who is a top earner, MLM millionaire in network marketing, says that if there's one tip that he could give, the most valuable tip that's made him the most money ever in his whole career, it's consistency. He says consistency. Getting the basics again and again and getting them deeper. So if you have been on this before, you will know that each time you get new things and you get it deeper, and that these are the 10 core basics that build your business and that you can help your team build their business. So we recommend that you get on here and keep learning this until you can teach your team. And these are the 10 core commitments. Number 1, get started right. 2, be here a year from now. 3, personal development. 4, market daily. 5, present daily. 6, attend a weekly presentation. 7, attend a weekly core training, which is what you're doing tonight. And 8, attend a monthly regional. 9, attend all company conventions. And 10, have a monthly action plan, which is the one that we're covering tonight. We recommend that you attend these, keep track of the ones that you attend, and if you miss one, you can catch the replay. Keep track of that too. When you've completed all 10, let me know, because we have a certificate of completion for the 10 for you for the first level. There are actually 4 levels. Some of our members are completing the first level yet. Some are working on their second level right now. So each time you complete the 10 and the replay, let me know, and then we'll give you level 1, 2, 3, 4. We will turn off the recording, let's see, at 90 minutes into this lesson, we'll turn off the recording. That's when we have open questions and answers. But first, before we do that, after we turn off the recording, we want to hear from you, your favorite thing from tonight. So if something really struck you, make a note of that, and we'll ask you for that at the end. If you have a question comes up, make a note of that, and you'll have a chance to ask that. If something happened to you this week and you wonder how to get around that, this is the perfect place to bring those questions to. Just to introduce Jeff and me a little bit for those who are fairly new. Jeff has built 2 teams of over 5,000 people. His team had 5 of the top 10 recruits in his state and his company. His teams have produced over 10 million sales, and his team for 4 years was one of the top 25 teams for recruiting in the country in his company. He's a good person to listen to. Good advice, good experience. You can tell he speaks from his experience. So Jeff is one of the more advanced people, probably of the top few percent in network marketing in the country, and very lucky to have him along. I was also a full-time network marketer for years. Helped me to raise my son as a single mom. When my company went out of business, I became a body-mind therapist for my own personal growth and to help other people too. My specialty is identifying where people get stuck and helping them have breakthroughs, very similar to Tony Robbins. And that means breaking through negative mindset and also fears, and anywhere they're stuck, actually. Some of the members, your fellow members on here, have experienced breakthrough sessions and can tell you about that. This training is generic. It doesn't follow. It follows all of your good company's policies. But if it's different, then follow your company's policies, of course, if they're good. This is for all levels: people starting, long time, moving, stuck, people focusing on customers, recruits, or leadership. It helps you with all of that. Helps you build a team and lay a good foundation and make money. All the important stuff that you need. So very glad to have you here. Some of the results we hear are using your methods just hit a new rank. I was looking for a class to eliminate the loose ends or sort things out, because there's so much out there on the internet, isn't there? And then the person said, this is simple, basic, and duplicatable. An eye-opener, so well presented, the best script they've ever heard. So these are some of our testimonials that we're getting, or comments that we're getting. And we look forward to hearing yours too, and hope you enjoy tonight.
Okay, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, 1 second here. Okay, so we want to go over tonight the map, how to create a map or a monthly action plan of what to do. And here's the thing, this actually transcends more than network marketing. It helps out in the real estate business, the mortgage business. It helps out in the massage business. Just planning out, what you're going to do and where you're going to go and tracking everything. And the reason you want to track everything is if you're not tracking everything, basically what's going to happen is you're always going to end up doing what, you're always going to end up basically succumbing to your basic human instinct. And your basic human instinct will drag you back to your comfort zone, and the comfort zone is basically built to keep you safe. So your internal logic, your internal system inside of your head is basically set up to keep you from being successful. And when I heard that, I was like, well, no wonder I've had so many problems. And they're like, no, Jeff, you have a lot of other problems outside of that. That's just one of them. So when you get to a point where you got some of this other stuff figured out, if you're not tracking, what will happen is you will eventually be pulled back to where your comfort zone is, and your comfort zone is where you feel comfortable. Now, let me kind of describe that to you. If you grew up in a 3-bedroom ranch in a average family, that's basically what you feel comfortable with. So what I was taught inside of real estate, this is not network marketing, but what I was taught inside of real estate, you typically will sell in the neighborhood you live in. And what that means is you'll typically sell the same kind of houses you've owned. Why? Because you feel comfortable. It's not common for somebody who grew up in a $100,000 house to sell a $500,000 house. That's not normal. Unless they moved to a $500,000 house. So that's kind of the mentality behind this is the same thing is true if you get inside a network marketing and you want to succeed and you're not tracking what you're doing. It'll always pull you back to where you feel comfortable, and you might not feel comfortable building a business. Now, there's a bunch of reasons why you might not feel comfortable building a business, and we don't have time to go into all those. But what I do want to do is I want to go into these mindsets of a network marketer, and this will help you move forward. The first mindset of a network marketer is the poser lottery mentality. And this basically says, I'm going to look at the business like a lottery ticket. Have you ever seen a scratch-off lottery ticket that has the 6 spaces across, and you get to scratch each one with your quarter? A lot of people look at the business this way. They see the comp plan, and it shows they just need 2 people. So in their mind, they're like, I have 2 people in mind. Or it shows 3 people across, and you can get to the top of the chart, so you got 3 or 6 or whatever. And what happens is we, in the beginning, and I did this too, is I had these 3 people already lined up. I knew my uncle was going to be one, and I had some other family members. And I'm like, and I have this friend's dad, and I'm like, these are the 6 people that I will recruit, and I'm going to hit the top of the chart right away. This is a done deal because they would want success. And the reason that's a poser mentality is it was all predicated and based off of everybody else doing the work and me doing nothing. And that's how most people come in and look at network marketing. They're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so cool because I know somebody who's super motivated. I know somebody who has all the connections. I know somebody who can work hard. I know somebody that can speak in front of people. And that person would love to do this because they could make a bunch of money. And if they make a bunch of money, it's going to make me money. That's how they look at it. So that's the lottery poser mentality. I stayed there for a long time until I realized I was like, okay, I showed my 6 people. I scratched each one of them off. None of them got in. And then I was depressed. So I'm just kind of speaking about my first year. My first year in network marketing, I was 17 years old. I didn't know anything about anything. I just thought, hey, this is a good idea because if you could find 6 people in your lifetime, later I went on to find out if you had 3 people, you could make great money. But 6 good, solid people, you could make great money, wonderful money, and you didn't have to go to work. You didn't have to go get a job. And I thought, oh, my gosh, that'd be like the best thing in the whole world. So I went out with the mission trying to find these 6 people. One of my mentors finally said, Jeff, if you want to get to the top of the chart, you need roughly 100 people. He kind of said 2 things. He's like, I wish for you that you never find a leader, and I had no idea what the hell that meant. And he's like, I also hope you have some struggles that'll move you forward. And I had no idea. I was like, so I came to you for help, and you just told me 2 things to make me hate you. I'm like, this is awesome. Why am I here? That's what I was thinking in my head. Later on, and it took me about 10 years to figure out what he said, what he was really saying is if there was 100 people that I needed, that he hoped I never found a leader because, think about it, if you never find a leader, who has to do all the work? You do. I did. I was the one who needed to do the work. I was the one who needed to find the 100 people. I was the one that needed to present. He's like, if there's 100 presentations that need to get done, if you're not willing to do all of them, it's unlikely you will find someone else to help you. And I was like, oh. I didn't know that's how it worked. I didn't know anything about leadership. I knew about authority, and I knew I hated authority, so therefore I wasn't going to listen to anybody. That actually was a detriment to me when I got into network marketing because, you know, these people were trying to teach me, and I didn't want to hear anything because they were, quote-unquote, the authority on the subject. And I didn't like listening to my parents, and I didn't like listening to the teachers, and I didn't like listening to the police or, you know, lawmakers. I didn't really like listening to anybody, which did not bring me any success early in life. And it still won't if you don't, you know, listen to any of these people. The second is the amateur mentality, seeking the one thing. So I started looking for, here's what I thought. I thought there was one contact, and if I figured this one contact out, everything else was going to work out. And the reality is I figured out the one contact pretty early. The problem is I found out that one contact, although would get me in front of a lot of people, there was a lot of other stuff I needed to learn. And I ran around for a long time thinking, well, it's not that, and it's not this. And then eventually I started developing this professional mentality. And the professional mentality came from this. It came from beating my head against the wall. It came from showing up to a bunch of events. It came from doing it wrong. And guys, I was not a high achiever growing up. But I did have this internal thing that was very motivating. If I liked doing something, I did a lot of it. The problem was most of the stuff I liked doing, I got in trouble for. Skateboarding on private property got me in a lot of trouble. Playing hide-and-go-seek inside of endangered wild species areas or anywhere that had a barbed wire fence got me in trouble. I never saw do not jump the fence. I never saw don't go there. I never saw don't break the lock. I just saw, hey, I could get around this. Therefore, I didn't like following the rules. So unfortunately, there were these rules inside of network marketing that I continually tried to break, thinking I could figure out a way to make it work. And the unfortunate part is it didn't work. I wanted it to, but it didn't. So eventually I met this guy, David Berg. And David Berg helped straighten a lot of things out. Now, I had figured a lot of this out before David Berg. A lot of it. A lot of the skill set I had figured out. Meaning I had figured out how to recruit somebody. I had figured out how to, you know, have conversations. I figured out that there were 4 personalities. And the reason I had such a hard time is I was the personality that only 3% of the population has. So think about this. If I have, and I had a very dominant, that was my dominant, and I mean, it was so far out of whack that I didn't relate to 97% of the people I talked to. So most of the conversations I had growing up, I mean, you talk about in one ear and out the other. I remember my parents constantly saying, didn't you think about this before you did it? And I had to tell them, I was like, not even for a second. Not even for a second did I think about that. The consequences, the this. I was like, no, I never thought about it. Well, didn't you even consider anybody else's feelings? I'm like, no, because I really don't have any. Like, why would you even feel bad? Why would that even bother you? Like, that didn't even register to me. And I tell you all this because I want to explain to you how many problems I really had building the business. Like, this was like not just a little, oh, I just need a new way to contact people. I was so messed up mentally. For those of you, you know, you guys might not know this because I've never shared it, but at 13, I actually was checked into a stress center for suicide. I wasn't so committed to killing myself as I basically told my parents what I had been thinking, and it was so scary. They said, we need to call a professional, and based on the professional's evaluation, they said, you need to lock him up immediately. That's how bad it was. So just to kind of tell you how messed up the thinking really was, it basically landed me I think it was my freshman, it's either my freshman or sophomore year. I spent 7 weeks inside of a lockdown detention area. The first 2 weeks, I was such a danger to myself and possibly to other people that I wasn't actually allowed inside of a room. I actually had to sleep in the hallway with 24/7 monitoring. That's how scary it was. So I just tell you that because you think about it. If I can come from there to being able to build the business, what my main point is you guys have a lot of hope here. A lot of hope. Like if you think, oh, I can't because if you looked at the list of stuff that I had to overcome, think about this. I had to overcome all that just to get to 0. You know, it wasn't like I was a 5. I was like a negative 25, and I had to overcome all this stuff just to get to 0. And then from 0, I had to learn the skills and all this other stuff about relating with people and understanding the dynamics of what was actually happening in a conversation. I spent a lot of time alone growing up, and the reason being is that I constantly got in trouble, and I was constantly grounded and locked by myself. Well, when you're locked by yourself and you don't have any good ideas, I would have destructive ideas or bored ideas, and they weren't good. You know, because I like to watch a lot of, like, martial art movies and stuff like that, and you know, getting out of situations. So my whole thought was, how do I escape from every situation I get into? And I kind of tell you this because I want to give you guys hope on, like, if you guys can do so much better than what I can do or what I've been able to do, you just need to tweak some of this stuff. And there's 3 things that you got to figure out how to think like. Number 1 is you have to think like a business owner, and that just means 100% responsibility. Number 2, you have to think like a networker. And what a networker has to think like is, it's not necessarily getting you, but it's who do you know? The best question John Maxwell said he ever figured out how to ask was, who do you know that you could introduce me to? That's the number 1 question. And you really want to think that way when you go out to build your business. That's kind of a thought you want to have. You know, who do you know that you could connect me with, that you could introduce me to, that this would be a good thing? And then last, you want to think like a leader, because if you think like a leader, you'll be able to, if you think like a leader, eventually you'll start doing leadership things like helping other people just because. And everything I did in the beginning, I did because I wanted something. You know, I would talk to you because I wanted something. I would help you because I wanted something. Eventually what I found is if you just constantly help people do the right thing, it just starts coming back. That was a principle I'd never heard of. Now, they probably said it when I was in church, because I did go every once in a while, but guess what I was doing in church? Not paying attention. I was drawing, I was reading, I was goofing off, I was getting in trouble, because again, there was an authority. Somebody said, sit here, do this, and anytime anybody told me to do something, I did the opposite. So that was just me. Now, this leads into this 10 core. And I tell the story, it was kind of funny that I sat at the table with the guy who created this. I didn't know that was him, and I was in the back of the room, and I wasn't paying attention, of course. And he sits down, and I almost said to him, do you believe any of this garbage bull out, you know, that they're going to talk about 10 things, and if I've figured out these 10 things? I almost said, you know, do you guys believe any of this? And then they're like, and the number 1 guy in the company who's built 4 companies to the top, who's had an organization of over 1 million people, and this guy gets up and walks to the front of the stage. And I was like, man, that was close. I mean, talk about putting your foot in your mouth. Can you imagine having that conversation and then that guy getting up to the front of the room and go, I just had a conversation with this idiot in the back of the room, you know. Stand up, Jeff. And the funny thing is we had the same name. You know, we both had the name Jeff. So when they're like, and Jeff, come to the front of the room, I was like, okay, that was a weird feeling. And then he actually gets up and goes up front. And he said, look, there's these 10 things, and here's the thing. They're easy to do, but they're easy not to do. And he goes into the story of basically how he created these things. And he created them out of failing, but it just kind of, they were things that made sense. And Beth already went over the 10, so I'm just going to hit these. And what I want to do is I want to hit these based on this map. Now, here's what David Berg taught me, because I'm going to go back, circle back around. David Berg, after I figured some of this out and I was recruiting people, I basically was stuck. And here's the reason I was stuck, is my method got me so far, but I couldn't pass it. I couldn't get past it. No matter what I did, I tried different methods. I tried different advertising methods. I tried to recruit different people from different areas. I was like, well, I'll stop recruiting realtors, and I'll start recruiting teachers. I'll stop recruiting I-type personalities that can talk to everybody, and I'll start recruiting C-type personalities. Like, I literally, like, did that. And I figured out how to do it, which is really, really interesting. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll just get everybody to a conference call, or maybe I'll just get everybody, and I was trying to start people different ways, just testing out different things. And eventually this guy, David Berg, comes in and he's like, the reason why you're unable to move forward is because you're the best of what you know can only take you so far, and then you're going to need some kind of a system that will push you beyond that, because you're going to trick yourself into thinking you're doing more, when the reality, when I really look back at it, I was doing a lot of the same activity over and over again, maybe in a different area, which was even more dangerous, meaning I wasn't following the exact same thing every time. I was kind of switching from thing to thing to thing. My brain, I'm able to switch and able to go at the same pace. Most people, this happens. When you hear about a new idea, you stop, evaluate. Most people have to think about it. Then they have to say, do I feel like doing this? Do I want to? Like, there's all of these questions you ask before you start doing something. I don't have any of that. I hear about something new. I can literally shift gears in 2 minutes, and I don't shift from 5th gear down to 1st gear. I go from 5th gear lane 1 to 5th gear lane 2 that fast. There's no thought process. So David Berg's like, you can't do that. And he's like, you might be able to do that, but you'll never build a team out of doing that. What you have to do is you have to think about it like this. He goes, in the big picture of things, he's like, you want to figure out where you want to end up in 5 years, and then what you're going to have to do is back it up to a year and say, what is the goal for the year? What do I want to hit this year? What do I want to hit financially? What do I want to do? Then you need to back it up to say, what do I need to do this month to hit the goal for the year to be on track for the 5 years? I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. He goes, and then you back it up again, and he's like, what are you going to do this week that will lead towards the month, that will lead towards the year, that will lead towards 5 years? And then back it up again, what are you going to do today? And I thought that was really unique to David Berg. And then I found out it wasn't. Because in the book Think and Grow Rich, it talked about what successful people do in their daily method of operation. They basically figure out the most important things to do, and there's usually a half dozen. Then I heard Jim Rohn say, success is found in your daily activity, and it's usually about a half a dozen things. About a half a dozen things make 80% of the difference. And recently, I was listening to this guy that was with this program called QLA, Quantum Leap Advantage. Do not go look it up. And I only say that because he has no filter, and he will offend everybody on here 3 times center. He doesn't even talk about network marketing. He talks about totally other kind of business, and it just helped me hear some things I needed to hear for what I was doing. But he talked about mastering these daily things. He said, the reality is super successful people, what they do is they do a couple things every single day that most people not only won't do, not that they can't do, they won't do because they don't like doing them. And I thought, oh yeah, that goes back to that whole passion thing. I don't know if you've heard this. There's a bunch of coaches and teachers and gurus running around out there going, just find your passion. If you just find your passion, everything will work out. And I always hated that because I'm like, that's not true. Because if it was true, I know a bunch of people that are working on their passion and they're not successful at all. And the reason they're not successful at all is they think coming along with their passion is they have to be passionate and love everything they do. And the reality is most successful people, somewhere between 50 to 75% of everything it takes to be successful, you won't like doing. Not only will you not like doing, there'll be a couple things on the list you'll hate doing. But what I learned early on in the business is, would you do a few things you hate for a short period of time to buy back all the rest of the time and make big money? Because here's what I found out. He said if you don't do that, the alternative is you're going to do a lot of things you don't like doing. And then at the end of your life, when you try to retire or you want to slow down or you're put in a situation where you want to go see a family member or you want to go see a friend or you know your own health is challenged, you're going to have to do things you hate consistently. So it's either pay now and get a lot of time back or pay later and completely get screwed. And that made a lot of sense to me. Like I was like, okay. And then they kept talking to me about this delayed gratification crap. And I say crap because I thought it was garbage. But then it really started making sense. So David Berg said, figure this stuff out for the day. And you got to track it. So the map The massive action plan has to do with what are the things, there's a half a dozen things you need to track, and there's a half a dozen things you need to set a daily goal, not a monthly, yearly, a daily regimen of what you're going to do. And the daily regimen is actually really, really simple. And I can give it to you because it's somewhere between 5 and 6 things. And I say 5 and 6 because every company is a little bit different. So here's the first 5 for sure. Number 1 is personal development. You're going to listen to an audio every day. You're going to listen to an audio every day. Now, the audio has to be specific to learning about network marketing and or people skills and or mindset. It's great that you watched a video on the 10 places to go on vacation and you're like, yes, listen to my video, got my dream. But you didn't grow or learn anything. You might have just gotten motivated a little bit, but as Jim Rohn said, if you motivate an idiot, all you have is a motivated idiot. Meaning, if you still haven't developed some of the skills you need to move forward, it's not really going to help you. Use podcast app. So here's what's next. The second thing is you said read every day. Now, across the board, I don't care what guru you listen to, every single one of them, that's going to come up. They're like, read every day. And I think for 2 reasons. First of all, you're going to figure things out. And the funny thing is there is a book to fix everything that's wrong with you. Somebody's written a book to fix everything. Some of us aren't good with time management. There's a book on that. Some of us aren't good at relating to people. There's a book on that. Some of us, our attitude is horrible. There's a book on that. Some of us, our personality offends a lot of people. There's a book on that. But the best books to start with are the classics that overall help everything. The Magic of Thinking Big. Think and Grow Rich. How to Win Friends and Influence People. The 21 Laws of Leadership. I'll throw in the 15 Laws of Growth so you understand why we're doing this. 2 of them are Maxwell. Other ones are just classics from the industry. But those are books. Here's the thing. Those are books that I've heard over and over and over again by the most successful people in network marketing. All of them had in common that they had read those. Maybe with the exception of the 15 Laws of Growth. But the other ones, I don't care what $1 million earner that I ran into, all of them had read. So I think that's for 2 reasons. First of all, you can fix everything. The second reason, which is more like the first reason, what I figured out, is the ability it takes to focus on reading and comprehending is the same ability and focus. It's like the same skill set you need to focus on your business. Because I wasn't good at reading, and most people aren't really great readers. And I say most people. Most people get into network marketing. Network marketing seems to attract a lot of us to have ADHD. And the majority of people that I know that have ADHD aren't good readers. We're really good at buying books, right? We're really good at buying courses and stacking them up. I have a stack of books here and I have a stack of books back there that I'm going to read. And I say gonna because every time that I go to the bookstore, I buy more books that I'm going to read. So that list has gotten big. And now I've started giving away books, which is also good because I've bought duplicates of stuff, which is another thing ADHD people do. You have a duplicate of everything just in case. So that's the second thing, right? The first thing was listen. The second thing was read. The third thing is attend. You want to attend everything that goes on in your company. And you want to attend, you want to show up first, you want to stay after, you want to be present. And what I mean by present is you want to be like mentally there, not like I was at church in my own world. You want to be present while you're there. And here's what you want to do. You want to like take notes and pay attention. you want to take notes and pay attention while you're at these events. And you want to, here's what I started looking at. I was like, you know, the people who come up and speak here dress differently a little bit than everybody else in the audience. They had things that everybody else in the audience, I was like, they have nicer shoes. I started noticing that. I was like, the people who speak up front, they have nicer shoes than everybody else. They didn't wear comfortable shoes. They wore dress shoes for the guys. For the girls, it was pretty much similar. They wore different shoes. They had it, their suit fit differently if it was a guy. If it was a girl speaking, usually her stuff was more business oriented. It was sharp. The colors, I noticed that even the color was different usually with the people, and I only say that because, you know, I was with some really fun people who like to wear really off crazy stuff. And, you know, I had a friend say that if your suit matches any exotic fruit color, it's probably not appropriate. You know, if your suit color is acai or, you know, goji berry colored, or, you know, he had all these different, I mean, he was really funny. He's like, but, you know, your common, you know, suits you want to go with if you're a guy are black or blue, you know, the navy, the darker colors. You know, you want to wear a white shirt. Why white? Well, there's a bunch of psychological reasons. But you want to look sharp. And here's the thing. I was always taught to dress one step above everybody else. Just one step above whoever I'm meeting. So if I'm meeting somebody in jeans, I want to have a nice shirt and jeans. If I'm meeting somebody in a nice shirt and jeans, I want to have nice shirts and jeans and maybe a coat, a sports coat, so on and so forth. I noticed that the jewelry they wore was different. So these are things I noticed. Like, I started noticing stuff that was just the speakers and the people making money did that the people in the audience weren't doing. They usually wore their hair differently. And I was around some really different people that wore. And guys, I remember I started in the business in 1994. So that was over 20 years ago. Things were a little bit different then than they are now. Like, you can get away with a whole lot more now and still be successful, but if you want to affect the majority, it still pretty much works the same. So we talked about the first three. Listen, read, associate, what to do when you're there, come in with a good attitude, leave all the garbage behind. The fourth thing was BYOP. That was buy your own product or use your own product, UYOP. You want to buy your own product or use your own product. Now, the reason you want to do that is you always want to be a product of the product you're marketing. And what I mean by be a product of the product you're marketing is if it's an energy drink, you want a testimonial about how it helps you. If it's a skincare line, you want to talk about it. If it's aromatherapy, if it's essential oil, if it's, you know, a weight loss, if it's a strength, if it's a mental clarity, if it's pills and stuff, whatever you're marketing. If it's a service of some kind, use the service. Get as many examples of using the service as you can to actually know how it really works. Because what you'll find is sales is a transfer of emotion. Sales is a transfer of emotion. Also, another thing you're looking at is there's three things you have to convey to a person that you're actually talking to if you want them to buy your product or service, or if you want to recruit them. There's three things you have to convey. Number one, you have to convey clarity. Clarity. You have to be clear in what you're talking about. Clarity. Meaning you know what you're talking about, but you also know how, you know, the order in which to explain it. Not jumping around, well, my opinion is, and, oh, and it does this, and it does that, and it does this. Well, that's not clarity. The second thing you have to have in conveying that message, you have to be concise. Meaning you have to be able to explain what you're doing in 10 to 15 minutes and it be clear. So again, we go back to the first thing. Not only does it have to be concise, 10 to 15 minutes, but it has to be clear in what you are describing. So the best way to get that done is, if you are talking, is to be reading something that was designed by a professional that's part of the presentation for the company. And the third thing you need is confidence. Now, how do you have confidence in a program? You have confidence in a program by using the product and knowing that it works. The last thing that you need is STP. Share the plan or share the program. Now, in some companies they say share the product, and I don't think that's necessarily correct. And the reason I don't think it's correct is, and I'll just ask this across the board here because I can see a couple people, have you ever recruited somebody that has not tried the product but gets in, or have you ever heard about somebody who has not tried the product of the company but gets in based on the compensation plan, based on the industry, based on the person, based on the timing, or based on some other thing? Has anybody seen that? Anybody seen everybody get in and they haven't tried the product? So just by sharing the product by itself doesn't get the job done. But sharing the whole thing, when I say share the plan or share the program, you're sharing everything. You're sharing the company, you're sharing the need in the marketplace, you're sharing what products and services you have, you're sharing if there is a comp plan, and you're sharing the timing and the talent. So here's what my mentors told me to track. They said, track every day that you've watched the video. Track every day that you've read 10 to 15 minutes. Track every day that you've associated or you've shown up to your events. Like, can you track it to the point where I have been here every single week? I have been on all the calls that I'm supposed to be on for my company. I'm there. I show up. I attend. Can you track that you're using your product? Now, obviously, if it's a daily product that you use, can you track that you're using it every day? Because that's going to probably give you the best results of the product. If it's a service, obviously there's some services you don't want to use every day. Like if you sell life insurance, don't use it every day. You'll get that joke later. If you sell homeowners insurance, you don't want to use that every day. Or car insurance, you don't want to use that every day. There's certain things you don't want to use every day is what I'm saying. But most of the time you want to use it every day. And then the next one is presentation. So what I learned to do is this is, in the beginning, this is all I tracked. That's it. And the question they asked at the very end of our opportunity meeting, after they gave us these 5 things to do, they said, look, every single person that's been successful in the company has done these 5 things. Now, we can't speak for those who weren't successful, what exactly they were doing, but we do know we actually interviewed every single person that's made X number of dollars. It was 6 figures at the time, 6 figures or more in our company, and they said, we asked them if they were doing these 5 things, and here's what they found, is they found people who followed those 5 things consistently for 12 months were making 6 figures or more in some cases. And they said, is there anything on that list that you can't do? And here's what people said, well, I don't know if I have time to do that. And they said, but you have time to be broke. You have time not to make the money. You have time not to have the time. So what are you doing that you can switch around or make adjustments on? And they just asked, they said, how many of the people that my friend always did this, he goes, how many people in the beginning have a TV? And everybody raised their hand in the room because everybody has a TV. Statistically, everybody in a room would have a TV. He goes, how many people have more than one TV? And most people would raise their hand. How many people have 3 TVs? And they'd always say, well, how many people have the most TVs? And, you know, there was always a person that had 6 or 8 TVs in their house because each one of the kids had one and the parents each had, you know, they had one. They had one in the office and one in the library and den. And I think 7 or 8 is the most I've heard. If you've heard of more, let me know. But these are just TVs, just regular TVs, you know, big screen TVs. And they said, isn't it funny that you guys have 8 TVs, but you don't have time to build a business? But you have time to watch TV. And then we talked about all the different shows people watch and the different stuff they do. They said what's happened is you've gotten busy doing things that don't make you money. Like the dishes. But the dishes still need done. You just might have to stay up to do them. And the trash still needs taken out because that's what people will say. Well, I don't have time to do it. I mean, you know, I got to take out the trash and we have to rake the yard and, You know, so basically at the end, when you need the money and you need the time, you're going to say, yeah, but I traded the time that I could have built a business. I traded it because I really wanted to surf Facebook. That's what most of us are going to be guilty of. Well, I mean, I could have done it, but I was watching these really good YouTube TED Talks. I don't know if you've watched those. Or worse, I was watching Failarmy. And if you don't know what Failarmy is and you need a good laugh, only watch a 10-minute one because they have like 6-hour ones. 10-minute one. They're of all the stupid things people do that now we tape, and they just conglomerate it together into the stupidest activities a human being can do that actually got filmed to tape. And there's some dumb stuff on there, and it is funny. I mean, it is well worth, like if you're having a bad day, you can watch 10 minutes of that, but the problem is you won't watch 10 minutes of it. You'll watch 6 hours of it and then complain that you don't have any time. That's what's really happening. You know, and people say, well, I have to have 10 hours sleep. Technically, you don't. Technically, you don't. You may need 10 hours sleep because you have a terrible diet. You may need 10 hours sleep because you're not drinking enough water. You may need 10 hours sleep because you're not active and your body's trying to figure out something to do and it's making you tired. So, I mean, there's a bunch of things that are going on there, but you could take 2 hours out of every day and figure this out. And I say 2 hours, you don't need 2 hours to do all this stuff, but if you did. So that was the initial 5. You guys want the other 5? So when I met David Berg, that was the first 5 that I had ever heard. And I said, oh, yeah, we had to track that stuff. And what my mentor showed me is they said, as you start succeeding in the business, what will happen is you'll start consuming more content. And the more content you consume, the more production you'll do. And I was like, that can't be true. Can't be true. They said instead of listening to 1 audio a day, they found when I listened to 2 audios a day, 1 on the way to work and 1 on the way home, their production went up. I was like, that can't be true because you'd have less time. Like, I had all this argument for it, and then I started doing it, and it started happening. And they said, don't just listen, because there's a difference between listening and studying. Listening to it, it's kind of playing in the background, and you're watching TV. Don't lie, I've done it too. You put on your personal development, and you're surfing the internet, you're like this. Oh yeah, I'm paying attention to my personal development as I'm playing Candy Crush. Oh yeah, I'm doing it, but I'm doing a crossword puzzle. Oh yeah, I'm building it, but I'm Pinteresting, and you know, I watch people do this every day. They're like, oh no, but I was studying. Studying is when you get done, you have notes, and I found it's very hard to take notes and play video games at the same time. But here's the thing. I lied to myself, too, that I was really doing it. I lied to myself, too. I told myself I was really doing it, and I was texting in the meeting instead of taking notes. Back then, we really didn't have that many games on our phone. Actually, we did. We had Solitaire. Oh, my gosh. When Solitaire came on my phone, I was so in trouble. Thankfully, when I started playing Solitaire, I made a decision to start building my business. So I actually I took the app and all that. I took that game off my phone because I think it was like a BlackBerry when I first saw it that I had it. So I took it off my phone and I hit the top of the chart. And then guys, do you want a way to stop playing games? Become the speaker at your meeting. It's very hard to not pay attention and play games when you're the speaker. Very hard. Almost impossible. But here's the next group of things that I started tracking. If you look at this chart, it says getting started right. What I started doing is I started looking at how many people I did get started in a month. Now, in the beginning, you might not have any people get started. Yep. He's got his notes. Brandy has her notes. People are like showing their notes on the video saying, I'm paying attention. I'm not directing this at you. But I'm just saying, this is what I did. The reason this stuff may be funny is because I did it. You know, I'm not telling on anybody else. But as my friend said, you know, if the shoe fits, try that on and walk around a little bit. So the first thing is getting started right. I evaluated, did I get started right? And eventually what I said is I kept looking at what everybody else was doing. I was like, I'll be honest, I never really got started right. I never did what I was telling people to do. I never created that list. I never made those. So what I did is I created my own list one time, and I went out and actually did it, and I was like, oh, wow, I sponsored somebody. Unbelievable. This actually works. And that testimonial led to me helping somebody else do it. The second thing on the chart is be here a year from now. But don't just be here a year from now be here a year from now participating. There's a difference. There's a difference. Show up to win. That might not make a lot of sense to some of you, but show up, play the game to win. Don't play the game to show up, play the game to win. How do you win? You win by participating in what you're doing, not just spectating. The third thing, personal development, I could track that. Guys, that is the base for where you start. And I'm actually going to pull this up. I wasn't going to, but I actually wrote this down today while I was going over, and it was just so good. I want to give you some stuff from John Maxwell's new book, Leader Shift. He should have called the book Improvement, but I don't think it goes with what he's trying to teach. But I had to replace the word leadership with improvement as I was reading because it kept messing me up because I was like my brain was trying to make a new definition. I was like, I'm just going to read the word improvement. But he says personal development shift or personal development improvement. He says improving yourself is the first step to improving everything else. He said goals helped me do better, but growth helped me become better. He says once you do something great, others now know what you did. Or want to know what you did. I'm sorry, want to know what you did. Growth changes. He's like, there's three things to become a better leader. Number one, grow outward to grow inward. He said growth on the outside fuels the growth on the, or growth on the inside fuels the growth on the outside. Growth in everything to growth in a few vital things. So you can't grow in every single thing you're doing. So what he talked about is he was trying to set goals in every area of his life. And David Berg told us this. He's like, you're going to want goals in every area of your life. You can put your vision to that, but when it comes down to it, there's probably one area of your life that you need to fix right now. One area. And people are like, oh, no, I have 5 or 6. He's like, no, that one area would allow you to fix the other ones. And I'll give you, for instance, a lot of people say, well, I just need more time. The way to fix more time is more money. I'd be like, how is that, Jeff? Well, if you're spending 40, 50, 60, 70 hours at a dead-end job that's not making you enough money, if you were to build something else that would make you enough money, now you don't have that job. Now you bought back time. Dan Luck talked about this. This was really cool. He said, do you realize that the average person makes $1 million? The average person makes $1 million. The problem is the time frame they make it. If you make $20,000 a year, you will make $1 million in 40-some years. The problem is it just took you too long to do anything with it, where that $1 million is the exact same dollar amount as the guy who made it in 12 months. It's the exact same dollar amount. The difference is the time frame. So it's really, most people who get rich value their time more. I mean, that was like, I was like, oh man, I stopped what I was doing when I heard that. I started writing down notes. It was an ad. He was an ad on another video I was watching, and I was like, I need to come back and paint this guy. So, first, all successful people have a positive attitude. Second, all successful people build strong relationships. Third, all successful people focus on leadership. The third thing on his list is said growth with a timeline versus growth with a finish line. So what he was talking about here is he said, instead of how long will this take, start asking how far can I go? And the same thing is true in your business. It's great to have a goal right now of what level you want to get to, but the real question is how far could you go? And that really boils down to, like, how much could you do? How much could you do? And, you know, and I challenge this a lot of times because a lot of people who, I talked to a lot of people who were giving me excuses this one time, but I kept asking them why they were doing what they're doing, and they kept saying their faith. Be very careful saying that to me. Because I do have a weird memory, so I remember certain things. And I said, it's ironic, but if faith is a thing, and we talked specifically about the faith that they were in and what they believed, I said, so you believe that? Absolutely. They said, yeah, absolutely. I said, memory serves me right, but there is a passage about doing your best no matter what, no matter where you're at. Do you remember that passage? Yes. So my question is are you doing your best? I said, then don't lie to me and look at me in the face and tell me this is all about your faith and you're not doing one of the basic things that they teach. We had people leave the meeting over that. I'm just kidding. He just had to jump off real quick. So, to become growth-oriented person. So this is what's next. To become a growth-oriented person, embrace change. Growth means change. Olin Hendricks said that. It says a fixed mindset where everything stays static, you avoid challenges and give up easily. So a fixed mindset, here's what some people believe. Because of their family, because of people, and Bess will probably shake your head on this, some people have a fixed mindset because their parents told them this is all the smarter you're going to be. This is all the better you're going to get. This is all the more you can do. And it might not be a parent, but it might be a teacher who told them this, or it may be something that they related because of a movie and some other family situations. They believe they're never going to get better than where they're at, and that's a fixed mindset. They do not believe they can improve, and certain people have that, and they just don't believe that they can move forward. There's another mindset that's a growth mindset that says, I can keep expanding because as I grow a little bit farther, I know I can go a little bit farther and then a little bit farther. So you can keep growing, just like a tree. Trees never stop growing until they die. People are the same way. A growth mindset basically means you believe that you can be developed. You believe that you can embrace change and change with environments and things, and you're kind of more committed to the end. It helps you move forward. So there are no shortcuts. I love this. There are no shortcuts to any place worth going. Beverly Sills said that. So the second thing is it says adopt a teachable spirit. He said, here's a couple things that he listed. So in adopting a teachable spirit, here's a list of things that he adopted to himself to make sure he had a teachable spirit. Number one, he said, I make growth my number one priority. And guys, if you want these notes verbatim, I just put them on my Facebook page. So you can have like everything I'm reading. It's like word for word. These are my notes from reading today. So I put them on my Facebook page. You can just look at my page. So number one is make growth my number one priority. Here's something that I was taught inside the meeting. They said stop writing down word for word and start writing down what you're thinking when it's being said. I was like, wow. He's like, because what will happen is what's really going on is the thing that you're thinking while you're writing that down. That's what you really need to start focusing on because that's your subconscious mind working, and that's what you really need to work on. And that's a really deep psychological thing. Maybe that's too deep for this class, but it might help some of you. Number two, it says, I look for growth possibilities in every situation. So John said he goes into every situation and says, what can I learn here? Third, he said, I ask questions that will help me grow. So he has this list of questions that he asks himself at the end of every day. What did I learn? What could I have done better? Who do I need to connect with that I saw today? Like he has this whole list of questions that he has written out, where most of us do this by accident. He does it by design. He says, I file what I learned. He's like, most people have all this great stuff that they've accumulated and they can't remember any of it. The reason being is they didn't file it away, and a dull pencil is better than a sharp mind. Last, he says, I pass what I learn on to others. So he teaches it. The third thing on this list is he says, make your love for learning greater than your fear of failure. And he goes on to talk about how he failed at this certain time. And he's like, as I was coming up at the speaking circuit, I eventually got asked to go to this big event before I was big. And he's like, I'm looking down the list of speakers, and he's like, oh, my God, that guy's big. Oh, my God, that guy's big. Oh, my God, that guy's big. Oh, my God, this guy is amazing. He's like, I realized that I was the lowest man on the totem pole of this entire event. He wasn't speaking last, but he was the lowest guy. And he's like, I don't even feel like I deserve to be here. So he goes, I went to the most successful person that was speaking at this event backstage, because I was backstage too, thinking that I was going to get some really good, like a pep talk, like a pat on the back. And he asked the guy, he's like, hey, man, I'm kind of worried. I'm struggling here. I realize that I'm the worst guy here. And you know what he said? He's like, you are. He's like, congratulations, you figured it out. He's like, you are the worst speaker here. You do have the least amount of influence. He's like, but here's the thing. If you do a good job here, it'll get noticed, and then you'll be able to do a good job somewhere else. And then you'll be able to do a good job somewhere else. And eventually, you'll be the top person on the list. He's like, it helped me. He's like, I don't know if that helps you. But here's the one thing that I got from this particular passage. Action reduces fear and increases courage. And I talk to people about this a lot, the law of diminishing intent. Whatever you're scared to do it immediately. The reason being is the longer you wait, the less likely you will. Because what we do is we build the story, right? We're scared to do something, and there's this much of the story. And then we think about it again, and we add this, and this to that story. And eventually, the molehill becomes the mountain. Anybody ever do that? Oh, I can't. Oh, I shouldn't. Oh, they're going to say this. And then pretty soon, have you ever had a complete conversation about what's going to go on in the situation, and you haven't even talked to the person yet? And then they're going to say this, and then I'm going to say that. People do this with contacting people all the time. They're like, oh, I should talk to that person. Oh, I should talk to him. And then they're going to say, I don't have time. And then I'm going to say this. And then they're going to say this. And then they're going to say that. And this and that and this and that. And then pretty soon they've left and like, ooh, thank goodness I didn't have to talk to them. They're already gone. I used to do that a lot at Starbucks. They said it's much easier to become a growing person if you're in a positive growth environment. So this is what John learned. If you put yourself in a growth environment, if you put yourself around the people on this call, if you put yourself around Bess, if you put yourself around the group from the MLM Millionaire Show, the people who want to learn this stuff, it's not that they want to listen to us. They want to better themselves, and the information's good, and the environment's good, so they're learning. If you put yourself around these people, here's what John learned. He said the first thing he figured out is that others are ahead of me. He's like, that's really good to figure out, that others are ahead of you. Because if you're in a room where nobody's ahead of you, you're in the wrong room, unless you're the teacher. 2, I'm continually challenged. So if you're around other people who are better than you, you're continually challenged. 3rd, my focus is forward. Because if you're growing, you're looking at what you need to go do, not what you screwed up in the past. 4, the atmosphere is affirming, meaning the people around you are like, yes, you are going in the right direction. So that's helpful because, let's face it, if you're at work, a lot of times you don't feel like you're going in the right direction, right? They're like, you're not going to make it in that thing. That's dumb. 5, I'm often out of my comfort zone. So when you're around successful people that are moving forward, that are growing, typically it stretches you outside of your comfort zone. They ask you to do things. They ask you to participate on calls like this when you're not ready. Jim's shaking his head, yep. 6, you wake up excited because you're around these, people that are moving forward. 7, failure is not an enemy. It's like just part of the process. It doesn't hurt as bad. 8, others are growing, and you can see it happening. 9, people desire to change. They want to change. They want to improve. And then 10, it says growth is modeled and expected. And then he goes on, and he had some phrase, so I rewrote it, and it says, if you want to burn brightly, stay close to the fire. 5 is develop greater humility. Humility is not denying your strengths, but humility is being honest about your weaknesses. So you're like, yeah, I'm good at some things, but I also know that I'm really bad at certain things. And that was Pastor Rick Warren who actually was quoted saying that. It says, humble people are comfortable with themselves, yet acknowledge they need to improve. They have self-awareness. The 6th thing he said, you need to believe in yourself. You must see value in yourself and add value to yourself. And he goes on to talk about Oh, that is the principle from the 15 Laws of Growth. You must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. It says what you think about yourself determines the investment you'll make in yourself. If you think low of yourself, you will invest very little. Which I'm kind of preaching to the choir here because everybody here is investing in themselves, right? Both in the time and effort and energy. Your growth return will not exceed your growth investment. I thought that was huge. Empty the coins of your purse into your mind, and your mind will fill your purse with coins. That was Benjamin Franklin. So that was a good one. So here's the end. It says embrace layered learning. He said layered learning requires time and intentionality. So it's like you learn the skill, and then you learn the personalities. You learn the skill and you learn the personality and you learn some leadership stuff, and then all of a sudden there's a line that connects the dots on some of this, and the result happens. I've heard it said differently that you're looking, when you get in network marketing, there's this giant combination lock, and as you move through the business and you go to these meetings and you talk to these people, like each one of those slowly turns, and you can actually see the lock start to open, but it makes you mad because it never opens all the way. Because as you get to another level, they like add new locks. I mean, it's really weird. Small improvements over time make a big difference. And that's really what we're talking about tonight is, you know, every month you make this map and you map out where you're going to go and then you track where you're at. And then what you do is you look back and say, how well did I perform? Not what were the results. How well did I perform? Because the only thing, this is what I learned from David Berg, the only thing you can really change is your own activity. You can't change necessarily the results, but you can change the activity. And he's like, eventually you want to do the right activity and you want to learn the right activity from somebody who's getting results. Because if somebody's telling you to do something and there's no results, then it's not effective. But if they are getting results and it is effective, then you start doing that activity until you start producing the results. And what you do is you keep upping the scale. So here's the second list of stuff that I learned how to map out. The first one was the number of new contacts that I was adding to my database every day. Now, the reason I needed to do that is because at the level the majority of the people that I was working with or we were working with were at, we had already gone through our warm market. We had already talked to the people on our Facebook page. We had already talked to our banker and our teacher, and we had already dug through our list. Everybody that I worked with David Berg was already an executive in our company making, on average, between $3,000 and $10,000 a month. That's what we were all making. Most of us were making $5,000 and up, which to the majority of people, we were all full-time. Some of us were part-time, but the majority of us were all full-time. The second thing was the number of presentations we were physically doing. Sound familiar, right? You're like, okay, well, that's the same as the other one. So the number of people we were adding and then the number of presentations. The next was the number of guests we had at the event, whatever the next event is. Because we had an open house once a week in our business, so not only were we going was not really a question for the level of the people, because a lot of us were the speakers at our events. So that'd be kind of weird, right? And here's what he said. You've gotten to a level where you're a speaker. Now you're not doing the simple things that got you to become a speaker. You're expecting everybody else to do it, right? And then we were like, I mean, you talk about nobody speaking on a call, it was silent. You could hear, you know, people's computer fan running in the background when he asked that question. The fourth was the number of game plans you were doing that week with new people on your team. And the last thing on the list was the number of actually there was 6 things. There was the number of promotional calls you made on Wednesday and Sunday, because we had a team call that we did every Wednesday and Sunday with this particular company when we were working with David Berg. David Berg actually moved to another company with a group of people, and they had different things, but this was the original list. And then the last thing was the number of 3-way calls incoming and outgoing. Incoming 3-way calls are you're the expert. Outgoing 3-way calls is you're calling for an expert. And we had a number. We had what they call a benchmark number for each one of these. Just like you should have a benchmark number for the first 5 we talked about, like the video that you watch or listen to should be 30 minutes or more. 30 minutes or more. The book should be 10 pages or more. That's the benchmark. 30 minutes, 10 pages. So if you watched 15 minutes of a video, it didn't count. David Berg says, stop fooling. Why are you lying to yourself? You're not improving. Here's the thing. You're not improving, and we know it. The only person you're really fooling is you, because we can all see it. We know you didn't read. You have nothing new to add to the conversation since last time. You might have bought the book, but it's still sitting on the shelf. Like, he was no joke. But you don't pay a person. Listen to this. Guess what he earned an hour? We were paying him $1,000 an hour. At $1,000 an hour, you either produce results or people will come and find you. So he's like, I'm not screwing around. Here's the thing. If he gave you an assignment and you showed up to the next call and he's like, okay, we're going to go over your assignment. You're like, I didn't do it. He would hang up the phone. He's like, okay, it's been good talking to you. Like you didn't have a chance to explain yourself. There's no reason. Until that's done, there's nothing for us to talk about. This is not a, hey, woe is me session. He doesn't do woe is me sessions. He's like, you're either moving forward or we're not working together. I was like, well, there's a different way. So this is the level of coach that I worked with. He's like, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not here to pat you on the back and tell you how great you are. I'm here to get you to perform. I get paid $1,000 an hour to make sure you know what you're doing. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And it wasn't mean, it was just very focused. So, events, you showed up to all the events, buy or use your own product, that's an obvious that you did it every day. If you did it, you did it. If you didn't, you didn't. And then the presentations, every single week, they had like a benchmark. The benchmark, well, I believe the benchmark back then was 4 presentations a week, meaning that was the minimum. But you were able to do more. So what we did is we got together every week and we said, this is the benchmark. And the benchmark was, if you just said benchmark, then across the board, your goal was whatever those numbers were. But you could go through and say, listening, I want to do an hour. Reading, I want to do 20 pages. So you just double everything, or you could do whatever percentage you wanted. And then the following week, the problem is if you puffed up and said, I'm going to do a bunch, the following week you had to tell what you did. Here's what I said I was going to. You had to say, here's what I said I was going to do, and here's what I did. And you had to say it live in front of the group of people that you're kind of at the same level with. And he's like, you've been lying to us, but we know. Because some of us were in the same market, and here's the thing. In that particular company we were in, they posted your numbers. You showed up, and I've got magazines where I'm in the magazine month after month after month after month in the top 25, sometimes in the top 5 recruiters in the whole company, 400,000 people. You can't fool yourself. They're going to print your name. So you either were doing it or you were lying to everybody, and it showed they had a record of it. So this was no joke. So this was one of the reasons why I succeeded, because I was like, I don't want to look stupid. Because I had fooled myself for a long time and looked stupid a lot. But I could kind of here's the thing. You can kind of get away looking stupid because people will forget when it's not written down. But when it's written down and it's being tracked and you're getting emailed the spreadsheet of everybody on the list, it's really hard to, like, joke, you know. People are like, oh, yeah, you know what you're doing, So I tell you this to kind of give you the format of where I came from, how we figured this stuff out. So what you have to do is look at these two lists. The first list of 5 is what you should focus on if you have less than 100 people on your team. If you have less than 100 people on your team, the only 5 things you need to worry about right now are, number 1, what you're watching every day or listening to. Number 2, what you're reading. Number 3, are you attending your meetings? Number 4, are you buying and using your own product? And number 5, how many times are you presenting? That's the only thing you need to pay attention to. Until you have 100 people on your team. When you have 100 people on your team, then we talk about this other list. I gave you the other list to show you where we were at when this started. And if you have another 100 people on your list, talk to Bess or me, and we'll kind of talk to you about what to do then. With that, I talked about 15 minutes longer than I thought I was going to. I just looked at the time. So I'm going to jump off here, and I'm going to turn this over to Bess. And
cool. Thanks for that extra time, because I got a lot, and I think everybody did. That was really powerful stuff, every word you said. I like the accountability of saying what I'm going to do and then clocking in, logging in what actually happened. I could see an inner circle for this school of people who want to be go that tough. Jeff, what do you think? Have an inner circle like that, a coaching circle of accountability. So that can be down the road. Maybe we can all think if we want to be in that circle or not, and kind of, you know, get prepared for that. The joke that you mentioned about you don't use your life insurance every day reminds me of the joke about the husband who says to his wife, you know, I don't think I'm going to get your mother anything this year for Christmas. And the wife says, why not? You know, he says, well, last year I got her a burial plot, and she didn't even use what I gave her last year yet. I like that. I'm going to welcome everybody here. People have jumped on since we began, probably while I was doing my intro. But I'm just going to go through and welcome everybody, because Larry Etheridge is on here, who hasn't been on here for a while. I want to welcome Steve Redden, Doris, Becky, Ignacio, Adrian, Teresa, Pasha, Stephanie, Dr. Chris, Sherry Miller, Brandy, Kitty, Jim B., David Roeder, Lisa Rauch, Tracy, and Louis Otis. So that's a ton of people ready to make changes in your life. We welcome you. Dave says you could only see my forehead. Do I look right to you guys? Can you? David can only see my forehead. Do I look right to you, Jeff? Okay. Yeah, it appears to be fine to me and to everybody else. I don't understand that. But David, I'll send you a picture so you can see my smile. I'm not sure. This is weird. Once in a while, it's just the cameras get weird. Possibly logging out and coming back in could be good. Tracy's on the phone. Welcome to you. And by the way, there were people who said that they could not be here, like Karen Berg is in Florida at the Daytona 500 race, and they're having dinner at Downtown Disney tonight. I think that's kind of fun and cool. And Sherry Calise is not feeling her best, so she's not on. But thank you for letting me know. I like when you say, yes, I'm going to attend, or no, not able to, but I'm thinking of you all. So, Kitty, your question about tracking, let's attend to that and the question and answer part, okay? So I think that would fit there. And I just want to share David's tip that he typed in here, because I can see the chat for the people who are on video here. It's kind of fun. I love when we all come on video, even if it's a bad hair day like mine is today. Come on and join us, because we love to see you, and then you can also participate in the chat that's going on too. David says in the chat, David Roeder says that the way to keep I'll paraphrase it, David, but the way to keep something that you learn is to share it with others. So I really like that. The way to keep it is to share it or give it away. Because we know that when we teach something, we learn more, don't we? If we really want to learn something, we become a teacher. So that's why one reason I'm a teacher. So thank you for all those tips. What I'd like to share right now is two things. One is how to plan. Since this is a monthly action plan month, I'd like to share for those thinking about doing a challenge. This is the beginning of the year. This is the best time to consider doing a challenge, and that could be a 30, 60, or 90-day challenge. It can be a challenge of your definition. If you haven't done 2 presentations a day before, then that could be your challenge. You just do 2 presentations a day. If you have been doing 2, maybe you want to step that challenge up to doing 5 presentations a day. If you want to do a real full-out challenge for a while, step it up to doing 10 a day. Usually you can do that for about 10 days, and you got to follow up with those people, then you got to sign them up and train them. So that can often yield 20 recruits in 30 days. If you do 10 presentations a day for 100 days, Eric Worre says the average is that you end up with 20 recruits from that. Don't know if that's always accurate, but people that I've worked with have gotten pretty close to that doing a challenge. So for years now I've been helping people get through challenges, and I have a few tips about to prepare your monthly action plan or to prepare your action plan if you're considering doing one. So I'm just going to take a few minutes and do that, and then I would like to talk about how to troubleshoot the things that get in your way, which Jeff just covered beautifully tonight. A whole lot of that. I'd like to play into that tonight. So to do a challenge, first of all, clear your mindset. Look and see where you get stuck in the past when you have attempted in your business. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So number 1 is clear your mindset. Number 2 is upgrade your skills. In other words, really learn that the favor process from the Always Get a Yes book, pages 5 to 12. Learn that and use that with people that you know, and then use the the F-O-R-D or F-O-R-M to use it with people that you don't know. Get your 10-minute presentation really honed and good, and follow your company's policies with that. Use your company's website, but if you haven't yet, get a really good 10-minute presentation written up. Get feedback from your upline on that. Try it out with people and get their feedback on that. Was it clear to them? Did they understand? Was it compelling? Do they want to join your company? You can do this anyway. You don't have to save it for times when you do a challenge. Number 3, write your game plan. In other words, look at the events coming up in your company in the future, the next few months, and then design your game plan of your doing your challenge around that. With the idea of getting your team to those events and getting your new recruits to those events, and tell your people as you sign them up, we're all going to convention in 2 months. We're going to move toward that, and enlist your team to recruit people to bring them to convention as well. So set your game plan around these events and set goals. How many people you want to bring? We're all going, and we're all going to bring 5 new people there, or 5 teammates there. Number 4, write your mission. That would be what you want to help people do. Like, okay, we're all going to lock arms, we're all going to work together, we're going to do an intense 90 days leading up to the convention, and our mission with this is going to be to help people get out of debt. That could be one of the missions. I know one company had that as what their major consistent mission. So pick one that means something to you and your people that really gets you on fire, and talk about that through the whole challenge. This is your battle cry. This is what we're all doing. We are locking arms, and we're helping people to become financially free or out of debt, or to choose whether they wanted to go to a job or not, to have that freedom. And then let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get your 10-minute presentation. We already covered that. Make sure it's compelling. Number 6, that would be number 6. get your tools ready. In other words, get your three-way callers all lined up. If you're doing an all-out challenge of like 10 presentations a day, you should have about three-way callers lined up. So pick your upline, their upline. If you can't find one, you could trade this service with a crossline, but have somebody there to back you up. We know that we teach the favor script as the invite. Then the first exposure is your 10-minute presentation. Then your next exposure, your second exposure, can very well be a three-way caller that can validate what you just said and help to move that person to an event or to actually sign up. So you need that third-party validation after you've done your part in talking. You need to have somebody else's voice in there validating you, and that's where you get those all lined up. Get their times when you can call them, get their arrangement, how you want to do that. Get any tools ready, like if there is a video that you want the person to see, maybe before the three-way caller gets on with them, or any other information, get those all ready to go. Get your sign-up forms, your application forms, everything ready so nothing's going to slow you down or stand in your way. Number 7, clear your schedule. Choose the right time to do your challenge, not when you're getting married, moving, your daughter's having a baby, when you're taking a vacation, anything like that. So pick the best time of the year or the best month or 2 or 3 months to do it. And then move things, move events if you can. Let people know that I won't be able to attend my niece's birthday party because I'm doing this challenge. I'm doing this marathon right now, and I have to focus on it, but I will see her after that, or I will get to, I'll take her to, out to lunch after this is over or something. See what you can move, get out of, delegate, explain to your family, negotiate with them. I won't be seeing you much during this, but I'll see you after. Negotiate with your family how you can delegate. Chores, how you can have them take over some of your chores so that you can do this for your family to provide a better life. Prepare ahead of time. Prepare foods ahead of time. They can be simple. You can freeze meals and pull it out and eat them during the challenge. But think of how you can shortcut things. Maybe have someone do the laundry, outsource that, have someone mow the lawn, etc. Then gather your list, all the people that you know that you're going to be contacting. If you're doing an all-out challenge, you'll want to gather 500 people. You can find those in your phone, your Facebook groups, Facebook friends. Make a list of, we have memory joggers if you like one. I think there's one in your Facebook, your tools, Memory Joggers by Eric Worre, where you find out you know more people than you thought that you did. And then if you can, arrange for support, like accountability, a mentor, a coach, a teacher, like Jeff or me, to help you through that challenge, because that matters. And you always run against stuff that you didn't count on, too. Plan for interruptions. In other words, give yourself more time to reach a deadline, because stuff always comes up. Okay. I'm going to cover now how to handle the blocks that people always run across. So what you do with all of this monthly action plan is you set your goals, set your strategy. Your goals is where you want to go. The strategy is how you're going to get there. And then you put it into action, and you track your action and your results. I love what Jeff said, is you measure your contacts every day, measure your new presentations to new people every day, track your guests at event, the number of game plans you set up with new recruits, the promotion calls that you do, and three-way calls that you do or have done for you. The most important one, if those are too many to track for you, most important one would be the presentations that you do every day, because that's how many seeds that you're planting every day. But do keep track of how many of that end up in new recruits, because if you say, well, I'd like to get 10 new recruits to get to my next rank, then you'll look and see how many presentations you need to do to get to that, according to your abilities, your talents, your company's comp plan, and all that. So that would be the second thing to keep track of, is how many new recruits end up from those presentations. If you only have time or energy to track 2 things, that would be it, or 1 thing, the presentations would be it. So you will run into blocks like Jeff mentioned, you will, when you accomplish your goals and the action steps, you celebrate. And I think that's as important part of success or coaching as anything. But the second, and the way to celebrate, by the way, is keep doing what you've been doing. Tell us about it. You guys are messaging or texting Jeff or me. Some of you are posting it in the MLM Millionaire Club Facebook group, and we love that because then we can celebrate with you and also inspires other people. And you can also tell us on the Q&A part of these calls. So whatever way that you share a success, let us celebrate it with you, let us brag about you, and let it inspire other people in the club. Number 2 is troubleshoot where you get stuck. So this is what I want to talk about right now. You run into a block, something trips you up, something keeps you from doing your action steps each time. Well, I developed something I call Real Conversations. This is a 4-step self-coach method where you look at the, and I'm going to post this in the chat right now, the 4 steps of Real Conversation. What you do is you number 1, identify the problem, like didn't get my 2 Ps done today, my 2 presentations, even though I committed to myself and to everybody in the group I was going to do it. Number 2, identify the feeling behind it. Number 3, identify the need underneath the problem. And number 4, meet the need. Then the problem's gone or the block is gone. So that is how you can coach yourself past any problem or any block. You identify the problem, the feeling, the need, and then you meet that need. Because every problem, every block is really an unmet need. So you find the need, and then you solve that need or you meet that problem. It's the need that's usually the most disguised for people. I call this Real Conversations with Ourselves. I developed this when I learned how to help myself get past problems and when I help clients and students get past problems. So I developed this about 30 years ago, and I use it almost daily for myself, and I teach it to clients and students, and I have taught it in the school here too before. This is how you can coach yourself. If you get stuck, then you can call me or Jeff, because what I do is I specialize in helping people to get unstuck with that. But let's take a look at some of the blocks that we heard tonight real quickly. For example, the lottery mentality. The feeling under that you don't have success. You don't have success. And you expected it to be easy. You expected other people to do all the work. So the need here, you can just jump right to the need and say, what's the need really under that? The need is to take responsibility. And so if you can do this for yourself, great. Or if you can do this for someone on your team, help them to take that, to realize that this is work and to take that responsibility and step up for that. And if they want it bad enough, that turning point of commitment is very powerful. So I'll say to solve that need is to get a reality check on how much work is actually needed. You can get that from your upline or their upline. And then your commitment to do the work. That would be the solving that need for that responsibility. Another block that we heard about tonight is time. People are working one person's 60-hour job, or the time just escapes. The time is just gone unconsciously watching some game or getting caught up in some video. So tracking it is a solution to that. The need would be to stick to a schedule and prioritize your time and stick to that schedule. Tracking it is the way to take off the how we fool ourselves or how we don't know where the time went, just like tracking a budget for money. So if you keep track of where your time goes in a day, you can say, well, maybe I don't need that 4 or 6 hours of TV that the average person watches a day. Maybe I'll trade that over to build my network marketing business. Astounding, huh? 46 hours a day. What could you, that's about like almost 30 hours a week or more. that's like having a part-time job. And if you invest 30 hours a week into your network marketing business, think how many presentations you could do a day and how many new recruits you could do a week. It would be astounding. You'd be in the top probably 2% of people in the country in network marketing if you put that much, put the TV time into your network marketing business. But if you learn to clock in, like you do a job, you say, I'm going to work 2 hours today or 4 hours every day on my network marketing business. If you learn to clock in or keep a spreadsheet about that or keep some sort of sheet and ask your mate to check you on that, did I do my 2 hours today or 4 hours today that I said I was going to do? And if I'm watching TV, you could even give them permission to say, where's your timesheet? Did you clock in today? Have you got that done before you watch TV? So you can enlist the help of your mate for accountability. Another block, third block I'm talking about tonight is not believing that we can or not believing that we deserve to. So like Jeff was saying, that can come from childhood. You can't do that. Who do you think you are? You don't deserve that. You're not good at that. You always mess up. So a lot of us have heard this as a child, and now we tell ourselves that. We not only heard that critical parent, but now we internalize that critical parent, and we carry it along with us, and we let it speak to us all the time when we run up against something. And that might be the thing that Jeff was saying, listen to what's going on in your head as the speaker talks about success or that they did it, and you go, oh, sure, they can do it because, they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, or they're good looking, or, sure, they can do it, but I can't because I've got all these things working against me that I can't do that. And then you learn that they had tough things that they had to overcome. In fact, that's how they got their muscle to move ahead so much. So Jeff, if you had to overcome so much, I think that is still, whatever momentum you gain from doing that, I think is still propelling you ahead because we see your momentum and we see your focus and commitment. So that can actually be a gift. So I have 4 suggestions for that about if people have that, they can't do it or they don't deserve it. One is to run a mind movie of yourself as you wish you were, or a mind movie of the future. See yourself doing these things and run this for a minute in the evening and a minute in the morning, a minute in the evening. See yourself, imagine yourself, visualize yourself doing exactly what you want to do and reaching your goals and being the type of person that you wish you were. Not the type of person you were or are, but the type of person that you wish to be in the future. And then assume that. I call that the law of assumption. Like you're trying on clothes. You put that around your shoulders and you wear it. And you become it and you pretend and you act until you are doing it. So it's okay to pretend that the good things that you want to have come out in you until they actually become habits. And they do, because I've done it. I pretend I'm who I want to be. Number 2 suggestion for that, the believing can't do it or don't deserve it, is to list out your strengths. List the things that you love about yourself that are working for you, because a lot of times we focus on the negative. And so you might list, well, I like my humor, I like my spirituality, I like my work ethic, I like my intelligence, I like my looks, I like my friendliness, I like my skills that I have, I like the training that I've gotten. I love that I read every day. I love that I can track things. I love that I attend all my company conventions. I love that I love my product and I use it. And I love that I love people and I want to share this with them. So whatever you have going for you, write that down and acknowledge it. And again, you can ask your mate, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? The weaknesses you can work on, but right now this is to acknowledge your strengths. You've got a lot on board, maybe more than you thought that you had. Number 3 suggestion is to write 15 times a day, whatever you want yourself to be. I show my business, my network marketing business, to 2 people a day, 2 new people a day. And you write that down until it actually becomes true. Or I am confident and courageous, and I'm a confident, courageous influencer and people I attract people to join my business because of that. You can simplify that or make up your own, but I am these things. And you write it 15 times a day till it becomes true. And I've done that a lot. Everything that I've written, within probably a month or two has come true. Everything that I've written. There's scientific research that says if you writing this out 15 times a day, there's research about that, about why that works with your brain. There's something about writing it, and you're programming your brain to make that happen. And you're also reading that until, these are I am statements, not I want to be or I'm going to try to be, but I am these things. And the fourth suggestion is if you still feel stuck in these areas about can and deserve, then work with a professional like me. I've been doing this for 35 years with people and helping them make these breakthroughs. And some of the people on this call can attest to that. I've got, hundreds and hundreds of testimonials on my website about people that have done this. So it works for them. They're no different than you. It can work for you too. So another block, a fourth block that some people can have is fear. I will be intruding. I will be rejected by the person. So that kind of holds them back. How do I know they want to hear my 10-minute presentation? Well, because you've already asked permission with the favor script. So that eliminates that one, fortunately, for people in this class that don't have that. But if you still have it, I've worked with some people in this class that still have that, and they still wonder, will people want to hear me? Will people want to hear my favor script even? So I encourage, if you have any, the need, of course, would be self-esteem. I encourage you to take a look in the mirror and say to yourself every day, I am valuable and lovable, whether or not somebody joins my company or not. I'm valuable and lovable, whether or not somebody buys my product or gives me a referral. My value is still intact. Even if I make a mistake, I'm valuable and lovable, even if I mess up, even if I make a mistake, even people don't like me or do like me or buy or don't. I'm still valuable and lovable. That is intact. My behavior maybe can be bettered, but who I am, my value, remains separate from my behavior. Can you believe that? Our behavior can change, but a permanent thing is the value that we are inside. And of course, we can improve ourselves to bring more gifts to the table for people, but the inherent value of who I am is a glorious person inside, underneath my mistakes, underneath my actions, what people like or don't like, underneath my youth or my age or my culture or my gender, is a valuable, precious person inside for every single person underneath. That's who you really are. And know that. A third thing that can help this fear of intruding or being rejected is the action that Jeff mentioned. So you do that before you let your fears blow out of proportion. Just go do it. I do know people in network marketing that have gone out talking to people with a friend, and that helps you they've gone to stores and talked with people behind the counter or store owners or approached businesses with what they had, or go to a coffee shop and talk to people and say, we're not leaving here until each of us has talked to 2 new people today. And you have that support, you have that commitment, more likely to do it, just like a walking buddy, walking partner. Another block is discouragement from past failures. Discouragement's really eliminated a lot in this class because the favor script works so well and the 10-minute presentation works so well that a lot of people, but if you're even scared to try now because of past discouragement, again, I think the need might be for self-esteem, and using these methods can help. Another solution would be hearing the stories of people who have had failures and they still succeeded anyway. That it wasn't the failures in the past that block them in the present. It's not getting up. So we can fall down as many times as we need to or happens, but the only failure is not getting up again. And so if you let discouragement keep you down right there, you fail. But don't let past discouragements past failures keep you from failing at this time. And watch the videos and stories of people who burst through that. I like that reasons don't matter to the guy who said, well, I'm hang up on you if you haven't done your homework because I charge a lot and I'm not going to charge you all this money if you haven't done your homework. You come back when you have. So reasons don't really matter. You can look through them and work through them.
Bess, he charged us anyway.
Oh, really?
I mean, if you didn't do your homework, you were charged anyway. He's like, I'm not here to play games. You screwed up. You just didn't get a session with him. He still charged you, and you signed up front knowing that.
Charged you $1,000 for not doing your homework, for getting nothing. Well, you wouldn't do that twice, would you? That's a good one. Okay. So I just love that reasons don't matter in the end. They don't matter to your bank who wants you to make a mortgage payment. They don't matter to your kids who are hungry if there's food on the table. The reasons don't really matter. They don't care. The reasons are up to you to take care of and to solve, like I just described. But you don't bring excuses to your checkbook, your bank account. It doesn't care what the excuses are. That's still the bottom line. The results are still the bottom line. Your mate doesn't care about your excuses. Your mate believes you and supports you when they begin to see the results. So again, we encourage you to go ahead and use the Facebook group, the MLM Millionaire Club Facebook group, our private Facebook group, and only our members see that. Do what some of your fellow members have done. They have posted, I commit to doing 2 presentations a day. So make that your post. Danya did that, and she had a beautiful blue post there. And underneath, she writes the date, like 2/17, 2 Ps, 2/18, 2 Ps. She doesn't put excuses in there. She doesn't put how many calls she made to get that. She just puts the bottom line, the Ps. And I congratulate her on there. If you don't post, then we'll know something happened. Just post when you do. It's your business, whatever happened. You know, if it's okay with you to have a reason or not to do it today, that's okay. But I bet you're going to end up doing more and making more money and building your business, getting more recruits, and reaching your ranks if you post like that. Even if you don't, okay, we can see that for some reason that you didn't today. But I encourage you to go ahead and do that. You're going to have greater results than if you don't. Even if you make 80% of what you commit to do, that's better than none, or 20%, right? So you're more likely to do it if you post it, because other people are going to read it and see. It helps to use it for accountability. Let's see, that's it for now for me.
Okay, guys, what we're going to do is I'm going to turn off the recording, so thank you so much for joining us for this edition. This is actually the 10th core, the Create a Map Monthly. So what we'll do is next week is actually going to be basically an overview or a recap of, you know, the whole thing. It's where you can ask questions. It's where we can help you out with any blocks or anything you have. But I'm going to turn the recording off. We have a couple minutes left where we'll just open the call to everybody.